Good morning, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Welcome back again, and nice to have you here. So today I will reverse the presentation. So first, I will start with my video selections from different media. Then I will do the reading at the end of the videos. So these videos focus on the ongoing violence, endless violence in the Middle East between Israel and Palestinians. And I reported on this multiple times. And this is very serious situation, escalating, and already Palestinians start dying due to excessive force from Israeli side. Really, these people are without no solution. They are there, they can't move, but they are keep losing their ground, and for the expansion of Israeli occupation. And this situation between Israeli and the Palestinians will reminds me the apartheid situation in South Africa, the throwing of stones against the powerful white South African. So the Palestinians are subjected to endless violence, and they are losing ground after ground. They are forced to leave their homes by the Israelis, and nobody has power to stop it, even the United Nations and others. So they talk, but no action. Nobody dare to act against Israel. So the violence continue, stops for a while, come back again, stops for a while, because Israel is pushing farther to this very what I can say, powerless, very powerless people. They are in a very tough situation, and we don't know what will be the end. But it has been like this for generation after generation without ending. And Israel is expanding. Palestinians are losing ground. More days, for one Israel days, maybe 100 Palestinians days. Multiple destruction of properties, factories, homes, schools, all, and more occupation. So this is a very sad situation to report. I think according to one report, it's already 20 Palestinians dead already. And it's very tough. It's endless escalation, no closing, nobody, so many resolutions, nobody carried out, and nobody accounted for. And resolution after resolution is broken by Israelis, the powerful in that area with a nuclear power. And no Arab leagues, they are dead. Only Turkey has a strong voice these days, and speaking for Palestinians. I know the United States also, the Biden administration is sending strong words, but who cares about strong words? Abiy, Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki, who cares? People don't care about a strong warning or strong statement. They want some action so they can stop what's happening. But nobody can do anything. So the violence is happening now. So I will start with the video, then I will continue reporting other news. So before I go to the video, please don't watch it with the kids. This is a warning. You know, some of the pictures may be graphic, maybe inappropriate for kids. So please avoid watching it with the kids. I appreciate you again for coming back. Let's get started. There we go. So still I have issues with downloading videos, so I just using recording.
With the latest escalation in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Gaza's health ministry says that 9 people have been killed. Calm now appears to be prevailing for the moment. This a live shot from Gaza. Earlier, Hamas fired a barrage of rockets from the Strip. They were launched in response to what the group called Israeli aggression in the Al-Aqsa compound. Israel is hitting targets across Gaza with artillery. Earlier, the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, Islam's third holiest site, was the scene of a violent Israeli crackdown. These pictures are from inside the mosque. Israeli forces firing rubber-coated steel bullets, tear gas and sound bombs at Palestinian worshippers. And that's the second time that Israeli forces have stormed the mosque since last week.
So all this
and these
is
pictures
unnecessary.
are from in and around the compound which houses the mosque. Israeli security forces targeted Palestinian protesters who were standing guard. The latest numbers from the Palestinian Red Cross are that more than 330 people have been injured. Speaking earlier, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised the security forces for supporting what he called a just struggle at upholding law and order.
A struggle is taking place in the heart of Jerusalem. This is not a new struggle. This is a struggle between intolerance and tolerance, between law-breaking and violence and law and order. The struggle is not new, because it has transpired over Jerusalem and the heart of Jerusalem for centuries. Since the rise of the monotheistic religions, for years, one side ruled and excluded the two others. And sometimes they changed, and the same thing happened. You can say that in the long history of Jerusalem, only under Israeli sovereignty since 1967, we are witnessing a continuous, stable, secure period in which we are working to ensure freedom of worship and tolerance for all.
Meanwhile, organizers of an Israeli march to commemorate the 1967 occupation of East Jerusalem have cancelled their rally. There have, however, been smaller groups of settlers and right-wing activists gathering on the streets, but the main march involving thousands of people has been called off. Al Jazeera's Nida Ibrahim is live in Ramallah for us in the occupied West Bank, but first let's speak with Harry Fawcett, who's outside the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. Harry, a lot for you to draw together for us here. Let's start with 6 o'clock local time when, as you were on air raid sirens began to sound there in central Israel.
Well, that's right. And if we wind the clock back a little bit before that, there was a warning from Hamas's military wing that if Israel did not withdraw its forces from the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, known as the Temple Mount to Jews, if it didn't withdraw from Sheikh Jarrah, the neighborhood in East Jerusalem at the center of this eviction dispute, if it didn't release the people it had detained during the course of the day, then come 6 o'clock local time, there would be a price to pay. That price came in the form of 7 rockets that were fired towards the Jerusalem area. 1 of them was intercepted, 6 fell in open areas. Now, this is a very rare event. For all of the escalations and rockets we've seen out of Gaza in recent years, it's not thought of it happens in this part of Israel, or rather in the area to the west of here, which is around the Jerusalem area. There haven't been rockets targeting that for several years. So that's a major escalatory step. As far as the Israelis are concerned, there will be a response to that. The Israeli military is saying that there will be several days of fighting in and around Gaza. They are ruling nothing out, including targeted assassinations of leadership. They're not ruling out a ground campaign either. The fact they're saying several days also carries with it perhaps a suggestion that they're trying to put some kind of a time limit on it, but it's very difficult to do that once these escalations start, because whatever the Israelis do is likely to bring a response from inside Gaza as well. Another thing to tell you about a serious explosion, deadly one, inside northern Gaza. This is during the time that there are Israeli airstrikes going on. Indeed, the Israeli military showed a video of a strike from above saying that it had targeted a cell, a terrorist cell, as they called it, a Hamas one, inside northern Gaza, targeting three, what they said were terrorists. However, there was also an explosion in Beit Hanun, which killed 9 people, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry, including 3 children. Now, initially there were reports that that was an Israeli strike. There have also been sources suggesting that it could have been a malfunctioning ordnance of some kind from within Gaza. It's extremely unclear as to exactly what took place there, whether the video that's been tweeted out by the Israeli military refers to the same incident or not. Hopefully we will get some kind of clarity. We are seeking that from the Israeli military to see if they can rule out that they were responsible for what the Palestinian Health Ministry says is 9 deaths, including 3 children.
And after a day of more violence there in occupied East Jerusalem, has the cancellation of this march to commemorate the 1967 occupation of East Jerusalem done anything to diffuse tension?
Yes, it's strange, really, after these days and days of building pressure and tension, reaching this boiling point in the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound earlier on Monday. Now that we're on the verge, potentially, of a very major escalation between Israel and Hamas in Gaza, the situation here at Damascus Gate, on the fringes of the Old City, is the calmest that it's been for some time. I think that is, to some extent, because of the decision to cancel this march. Monday was always worried about as a potentially very combustible day because of the march carried out traditionally on this day by Jewish Israelis, particularly religious nationalists and far-right Israelis, celebrating the 1967 capture of East Jerusalem, what they call the reunification, what Palestinians consider to be, and international law considers to be, the military occupation that began here in 1967. If that had been allowed to go on through the Muslim quarter of the Old City, there could have been very serious exchanges of violence between the two communities. That seemed a very real possibility up until the last minute. The Israeli security establishment seemed to go back and forth as to whether they were going to allow it to take place. In the end, at the last minute, they decided no. That does represent some significant setbacks as far as Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli right wing is concerned. Jews were not allowed access onto the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, the Temple Mount, on this important day for them. They've also stepped back on this front. They've cancelled a court hearing that was due to take place today, a Supreme Court hearing on the evictions at Sheikh Jarrah, just a short distance away from here. And yet we have this potential major escalation taking place as a result, partly of what we've seen throughout this month of increased tensions. And of course, there was what took place, the very violent scenes that we saw on the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound itself earlier on Monday.
Al Jazeera's Harry Fawcett there, live in occupied East Jerusalem. We heard from Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a short time ago. Well, the Palestinian leadership has also been reacting to the heightened tension. Let's bring in Nida Ibrahim, is live for us in Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. So, Nida, what has the Palestinian leadership had to say today?
Earlier on Monday, the spokesperson of the Palestinian presidency, Nabila Bourdaine, has said that Israel is challenging the U.S. administration that is trying to calm the situation down, and it's also challenging the international community. And when it comes to the point of the international community, we've had a chat with the PLO's executive committee member, Ahmed Mojdalani, who says that the international community's response and reactions weren't strong enough to enforce Israel to calm the situation down. And he says that the condemnations aren't enough when it comes to that serious escalation. We've also heard from different Palestinian officials, including a top aide to President Abbas. He tweeted saying that the Palestinian leadership is going to convene and study what options they have to confront the Israeli escalation in occupied East Jerusalem. But that has been met with a lot of criticism in the street, where people say that they've been calling for Gaza to respond, and they've seen a response from the military wings of Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Gaza, while the Palestinian Authority is still studying what to do. These sarcastic remarks, we've seen them a lot on social media. And there is some feeling that the Palestinian Authority can do more but isn't. But when it comes to Palestinian officials, they will tell you that they are seeking the international community. They want the UN Security Council, the Arab League, and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation to deal with the situation and kind of put pressure on Israel on that regard. We've also heard from the Palestinian Prime Minister, Mohammed Shtayyeh, who condemned the escalation. Let's hear what he had to say in the beginning of the weekly government meeting.
I hold the Israeli government fully responsible for what the worshippers were exposed to in the blessed Al-Aqsa Mosque, and I warn of the consequences that will result from such incursions, as well as attempts to evacuate the people of Sheikh Jarrah, the original owners of the land, from their homes. I call on the international community to intervene immediately to stop these horrific violations and to provide protection to the citizens of the Palestinian territories, especially in the city of Jerusalem, which is undergoing ethnic cleansing. Today, Jerusalem is restoring the glow of the cause. And what of the people of Ramallah, Nida? How have they been reacting to all of this?
Well, throughout the past 24 hours and even before that, we've seen lots of spontaneous protests all across different cities from the occupied West Bank, including protests here in Ramallah, where we've heard people chanting slogans in support of those in East Jerusalem and Sheikh Jarrah, chanting for freedom for Palestinians and for them not to be evacuated from their houses. But we've also seen many denouncing the Oslo Agreement. This is the agreement that has been signed between the Palestinians and Israelis, or rather the PLO and the Israelis, that allowed for the establishment of the Palestinian Authority in the 1990s. And there is a growing feeling among Palestinians that the Palestinian Authority isn't doing much when it comes to their life under occupation. So we've heard also calls for protests from Palestinians who want these protests to go to confrontation points near Israeli military checkpoints and illegal Israeli settlements, to kind of confront with the Israeli military, because they know that although they can't go to Jerusalem, it's surrounded by Israeli military checkpoints. They need prior permits to be able to enter it, and some of them never get it. But they believe that it's important for them to voice their anger. Their cause is the same cause. They all believe that they're suffering under the Israeli occupation, and that's why they want to have their voice heard, and they want to voice their anger.
Al Jazeera's Nida Ibrahim reporting live from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. Nida, many thanks indeed.
Okay, this may be an advertisement. Let's see. Okay, I got this one and the one more. But maybe Hamas rocket or Israel, I don't know. That could be Israeli bombardment. Is a siren when the Hamas rocket coming to Israel. So this is a confrontation between Israelis, highly armed, and the Palestinians.
يلا ما هو بيلف 5 كيلومتر ليرجع ورا المحسوب.
Calls for calm from across the world as tensions continue to mount between Israel and Gaza. The United States was at the forefront, urging for de-escalation from the two sides.
Very deeply concerned about the rocket attacks that we are seeing now that need to stop and need to stop immediately. All sides need to de-escalate, reduce tensions, take practical steps to calm things down.
Europe was also quick in expressing its concern over mounting unrest in recent days. A statement from the French Foreign Ministry called for restraint, while foreign ministers from Germany and the United Kingdom took to Twitter to condemn the firing of rockets towards Jerusalem from the Gaza Strip. Earlier on Monday, the European Union urged that everything possible should be done to avoid fueling tensions.
We are deeply concerned over the recent clashes and violence. It's clear that all sides must uphold and fully respect the status quo of the holy sites.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, meanwhile, vowed to do everything in his power to mobilize the world to stop what he called Israeli terror and occupation in phone calls to the Palestinian president and the leader of Hamas. A similar tone was taken by Iran's foreign minister on Twitter as he condemned the actions of Israeli police after hundreds of Palestinians were injured in clashes in Jerusalem on Monday. The United Nations Security Council held an urgent meeting on the same day over the violence, but held off on issuing a statement as negotiations continue.
Okay, so these are the reports on the very dangerous escalation between Israel and the Palestinians. So the powerful can de-escalate if they want to, but I don't think there is interest there. So they don't scare anybody. They don't scare of the United Nations. They don't care, as I said, about all warning or statement or Twitter. They don't care. They have to feel the pressure to stop it, to leave the Palestinians alone, to leave the Palestinians' land, stop the expansion. You know, every time they come and test the Palestinians, this powerful state, very small country, but very powerful, including with the nuclear power. So the Palestinians, I know Hamas and others have rockets. It's not that much they can do, but the general public has nothing. They have stones they can throw, but stones cannot do anything. They cannot stop the Israeli guns from killing and injuring the Palestinians. So this is a very, as I said, very tense, very serious situation. Israel can stop it, can de-escalate if she want to. So there is lack of interest. There is a show of power and on these powerless people. And it has been like this for entire my life, or maybe the lives of others, never been resolved. Because one powerful, the other is powerless. So how are you going to negotiate with a powerful country? How are they going to make them listen to you? It's a very tough one. And I hope the United Nations Security Council or Europeans, beg, I can say, not force, beg the Israelis, please stop for the sake of humanity. I don't know if they care about the humanity. They should beg them, begging, because they have no power. The UN is tasteless. They can't do nothing, but they can beg. They can beg, the Israelis, please don't finish them. Please slow down. Stop now. You will come back again. They will beg them. And so the begging might work. There are, emergency meeting. European Union released a statement. The United States also called to end violence. We will see, and I hope it will end. So let's read the other materials and finish up for today. Thank you again for coming back and taking time to listen to Concerned Citizens Media. Here are the other news for May 11, 2021. Ethiopia under Abiy Ahmed's leadership continues to be a very dangerous country for the safety of journalists, politicians, opposition figures, and others with anti-prosperity agenda. The latest victim of unknown killing squad is Oromia Broadcasting Network, or OBN journalist Sisai Fida. According to Ethioforum media reporting, journalist Sisai Fida was assassinated in Dambidolo, Kellam, Wallagga by unknown assassins yesterday after he returned home from attending wedding ceremony. Nobody claimed responsibility for this killing, but the Abiy Ahmed government blamed Onek Sheni as usual for this serious crime. OBN, or Oromo Broadcasting Network, is Ethiopian government funded and part of part of pro-government propaganda media. It's a government-friendly media and is funded by the government. So, who assassinated this journalist? Nobody knows. Nobody is arrested. And the government claim Onek Shani. And Onek Shani didn't release any statement on this killing. We don't know. But what we know is Ethiopia becomes a very dangerous place for politicians, for journalists, and other citizens. Very dangerous everywhere. 3 European countries and the United States are calling for tough sanctions on Eritrean government for her refusal to withdraw its soldiers from Tigray region, Ethiopia. The United Kingdom, Norway, and Sudan joined the United States in their calls for punishing Eritrea government for playing around on the issues of withdrawal its criminal forces from war-torn Tigray region. Both Eritrea and Ethiopia admitted about the presence of Eritrean soldiers in the Tigray region after lying about for so long to Ethiopians and to the global communities. You remember all this we reported about. They lied. They say Ethiopia has enough forces. Ethiopia can bring from Sudan or from somewhere else. We don't need Eritrean soldiers. The ambassador Dina Mufti, the generals, the prime minister, the Eritreans, all of them they lied. All of them they lied. And never apologized. Still sitting in that chair and briefing the global community and the Ethiopians without apologies. They still may be lying. So they continue to lie. Credit Ethioforum again. U.S. Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Jeffrey Feltman, arrived in Addis Ababa for discussion on the Nile Dam, Eritrean soldiers' withdrawal from Tigray region, and other regional issues. Jeffrey Feltman met with Ethiopia Energy, Irrigation and Water Minister Dr. Seleshi Bakale. He reiterated the United States stand that U.S. will not participate in the Nile Dam negotiation unless it is invited by all 3 parties to the negotiation table, meaning Sudan, Egypt, and Ethiopia. Ambassador Jeffrey Feltman also expected to meet Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Diplomatic pressure on Abiy Ahmed is mounting from US, UN, and the European Union, especially on the immediate Eritrean soldiers' withdrawal, political prisoners, and upcoming election, and the controversial hydro dam project. Ambassador Jeffrey's delegation also visited Sudan and Eritrea before heading to Ethiopia. US FDA authorized Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine for use in people aged from 12 to 15. The United States Food and Drug Administration, FDA, has expanded the emergency use authorization for Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine to include people aged 12 to 15. This is the first COVID-19 vaccine in the United States authorized for use in younger teens and adolescents. The vaccine had previously been authorized for people aged 16 and older. COVID-19 vaccine from Moderna and Johnson & Johnson authorized for use in people aged 18 and older. To support the extended use, the FDA reviewed data submitted by Pfizer. The company said at the end of March that a clinical trial involving 2,260 aged 12 to 15 years showed the vaccine's efficacy 100%, and it is well tolerated. Now, the United States Center for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices is scheduled to meet on Wednesday to have their say on this vaccine expansion. The research continues until the vaccines are available for all age groups in the United States. Credit for this news is CNN. So this is a good news to include teens from 12 and to 15, teens and adolescents. So it's a good sign. And as is suggested, the research also will continue to include from 11 to the newborn. So it could be discovered in the future. So this is a good news, 100% efficacy and the tolerance, well tolerated. This is a good sign in our fight of this very dangerous virus. Even though some people, they say, the young do not get virus or could not be affected by virus, but the science is not saying that. The science is, producing vaccine for those teens. So it is good. 12 and above is already covered. What is left? 11 and to the newborn. And we'll see, and we'll report to you if we find some news on that area. So the research is still going on, and it's a good news in our fight against this very serious challenge. So I'm going to come to the conclusion, and the Ramadan is coming to an end. A day or so remain. So, and ahead of time, I will say Ramadan Mubarak, and have a nice, joyful Eid with your family, friends, and please also remember the people suffering on behalf of our causes, especially our political prisoners, Johar Mohammed, Baqqala Garba, Hamza Borana, Abdi Ragasa, and Mikhail Boran, and many others, and the thousands of Oromos in Abiy Ahmed prison. So remember them when you do prayer or when you make dua, and when you celebrate Eid. Remember these people. They are suffering on our behalf, on behalf of Oromo causes. It's not for their personal cases. And Abiy Ahmed has no case against them. The case is to destroy the Oromos, to eliminate the leadership. So Prosperity Party, can win and be the king in Ethiopia. So please remember these people, and also pray for the Palestinians who have been subjected for generations for these atrocities in Middle East. So please pray to end the conflict, this de-escalation, for de-escalation of the situation. Already, according to different reports, about 20 already dead, hundreds injured, they are powerless, really. These are very powerless people suffering under occupation. So apartheid is ended thanks to Nelson Mandela and other fighters, but another apartheid is not over yet. So we will pray for that end, and we will pray for peaceful coexistence based on mutual respect, not ignoring, I hope, the power, and based on the international law. So we will pray. So Eid Mubarak ahead of time if I don't come back before that. So see you again with other news. Thank you for taking your time to listen to Concerned Citizens Media. Please share with friends and families, like the videos, or comment on the videos, or send me factual based news at my email birke@gmail.com. Thank you again. So long, everyone.